Are you ready?
I can be.
Okay.
I'm always ready.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1.
Can you, is that the camera there? Just making sure. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Katrina Farley, and I am a retirement services consultant with the Indiana Public Retirement System. And we are here today partnering with Hoosier Start. So you will hear from Kimberly Rumpel as well. And today we're going to be covering the caregiver generation. So here is the presenter slide showing both Kimberly and myself. Kimberly is a senior retirement specialist with Hoosier Start, and then myself, a senior retirement services consultant with the Indiana Public Retirement System. The things we're going to cover today, caregiving in general, right? There was a lot of information available online when I began researching for today's presentation. So I was shocked at all of the articles and different sources where I could find caregiving information. So we'll cover that, what that is, and what that means to you. If you're new to caregiving, and some of you may not be, but if you are, we're going to talk about some considerations and saying no, right? We don't always have to do the things that are asked of us. So we're going to cover that this morning as well. And then getting your affairs in order. So in the event that someday you need someone to provide care for you, setting things up for them to make it easier as they take over that transition. And Kimberly will cover Social Security benefits, and that includes your eligibility and some slides on Medicare. And then, of course, what's next, as we've covered each week. We'll talk about the rest of National Retirement Savings Month and the presentations we'll be doing throughout the remainder of October. So what is caregiving? Probably something obvious to most of us is it involves helping another person with their everyday activities and tasks. Many caregivers are family members, their friends, and even neighbors might provide some sort of caregiving. And of course, that includes everything from personal care, helping them get ready each day, to the things that they need to take care of around their home, their healthcare needs, grocery shopping, just running special errands for them, and then their financial matters, right? So you're going to want to understand all of those things when helping someone as their caregiver. I've included a slide with AARP's 2020 Caregiving in the U.S. report, and I was shocked to learn that 1 in 5 Americans are currently providing unpaid care to an adult, and the majority of whom are caring for an aging parent or another older relative. And that was shocking to me because I think 1 in 5 people, and I couldn't immediately come up with anyone that I knew who was a caregiver. But after I thought about it for a minute, I realized I myself was a caregiver for my mother. She is actually now a double amputee, so we spent a number of hours in the hospital, rehab, getting her acclimated to home. So caregiving doesn't necessarily have to be permanent for the rest of that individual's life, but it can also be temporary. Approximately 53 million Americans were unpaid family caregivers in 2020, which is up from 43.5 million in 2015. That's no surprise with the baby boomer generation getting older. The average age of a family caregiver is just 49 years old. And when you think about someone who's 49 years old, they're trying to take care of their own family, right? They probably have kids, maybe preteens or teens. So they're trying to live their own life. And 61% of those caregivers are women, which is actually no surprise to me. No offense to the men, but women tend to be the ones to take on that role. On average, caregivers spend 24 hours per week providing care for their loved one. 24 hours a week doesn't really sound like a lot, but when, again, you think about who these caregivers are, these are people who are trying to live their own life, work probably a full-time job, care for their family, take care of their own needs. So 24 hours can be a lot of time in a week to provide assistance for someone else. Of course, they're providing care with grocery shopping, transportation. Those are the most common things. It's the things that they need to get out of the home and do for the person they're caring for. And then the financial impact on family caregivers can be substantial. With 23% reporting, they've had to cut back on their own spending and 18% using their own savings to cover caregiving costs. So there will be a slide coming up where we'll talk about how to prepare in the event you need someone to provide care for you. What can you do to have your affairs in order so that it's not such a challenge for them and maybe they're not using their own resources for your needs. All right, if you're new to caregiving, and some of you probably will be in the near future, many of you maybe have already provided care, maybe to disabled child or brother, sister, or another family member. But what you're going to want to do is find out as much as you can about that person's medical situation. That's something, I just received a packet in the mail over the weekend that I need to fill out with my personal medical information for something that I have coming up later this month. And it just took me back to when I remembered helping my mother. And, you know, they would ask questions because you're the one, you know, maybe sitting with the doctor. And so you need to know the things like what kinds of medications do they take and when was their last operation, all those types of things, so that you can be, you know, helpful to the doctors as they're trying to care for your person. You also need to determine where to get help. And as I mentioned in the very beginning, there are tons of resources available for you online. Here with the state, we have EAP, which I wanted to put contact information in here, but it had already gone through approvals. So be sure to reach out to those resources that can help you as you're helping care for a loved one. And then, of course, get training if needed. Like I mentioned with my mom, I didn't realize what it would be like without her having, you know, at first just her left leg. What I would need to do to care for her in that situation and just caring for the wound and all of those sorts of things. That's nothing that I've had to do before. So I needed to learn from the doctor. So make sure that you get any training you need and don't just try to wing that on your own. And then the resources to provide caregiving when you live far away. So my situation isn't that critical because I'm just an hour and a half from her, but you might have a loved one who lives in Florida and you would need to care for them and make sure they're getting what they need when you're not there with them each and every day. I know it doesn't seem like something that you would want to do. Of course, none of us want to tell our family member or loved one no, but it is important that we do take those opportunities. So it's for our own self-care. They would want us to take care of ourselves as we're trying to care for them. So make sure that you're getting out, getting exercise, sticking to your routines, staying social. Don't just focus all of your attention on them, but be sure that you're caring for your own self. And then it does allow them some independence. So if they ask if you can go to the grocery store, for example, you might not be able to right at that moment because you may have something else more pressing, but you might sit down with them and help them learn how to order groceries online for delivery. And that gives them some independence to where they can feel accomplished each day. Also, separate the means from the ends. And what that really means is you may not be able to do it. Maybe their house needs cleaned, and you might not be able to accomplish that task, but you could delegate that to a family member who could, you know, take care of that task for you. So it still gets done, and the loved one doesn't care who does it necessarily. It just needs to be done. So it doesn't always have to be you. And then wrap no in practicalities. And what that really means is be a partner with them. Maybe if you can't get something done, ask how we together can accomplish a task. I mentioned earlier, you know, the idea that someday you may be the one needing a caregiver. And the best thing to do is get your affairs in order before that happens. So you're going to want to plan your estate and finances. I met with Hoosier Start on my own about 2 months ago. And one of the first things that was mentioned was, or asked of me is, do you have a will? And at the time I didn't. And so, there are resources online where you can go and create a will. Durable power of attorney for your finances is important, and a living trust as well. And also plan for your future health care. So a living will is very important. And then your durable power of attorney for health care. And then handling of important documents. So make sure you have, all of your bill, whoever you're paying bills to, all of your medical records, everything that's going to be important when someone should have to take over for you, because that may happen overnight. You may, be fine today and tomorrow something happens tragically and you need someone to take over for you. So make sure you keep everything together and it's not scattered, usernames, passwords, with everything being electronic these days. And then make sure that someone knows, maybe more than one person knows where those documents are. Be sure that you're discussing your advanced care with your loved ones, and give permission to your doctors and or attorneys to talk with those caregivers about your needs, and review that plan regularly. So things are going to often be changing, so make sure that you're reviewing that plan to keep information up to date for your loved ones. So that is what I have for you today. Kimberly will take over now, where she'll cover some things about Social Security and what is next.
Thank you, Katrina. My name is Kim Rumpel, and I'm a senior retirement specialist for Hoosier Start. I've been in this role for 12 and a half years, providing retirement services for state and local government employees, and it's a pleasure to partner with INPRS to provide some additional information for you this morning. So as we talk about caregiving and thinking about your own financial situation, as well as the person that you might be providing care for, we'll talk briefly about some things that are important from a financial standpoint. The first one might be to understand Social Security benefits, and that could be, again, for you as the caregiver, but also for the person that you provide care for. In many cases, the caregiver finds themselves taking time off work. That could be through FMLA or vacation time. As Katrina mentioned earlier, up to 24 hours a week on average, a caregiver spends in that role. So in some cases, if you're finding yourself spending more than 24 hours, you may need to think about how and when to draw your Social Security benefits. I also encourage all of you to plan for healthcare costs in retirement. At Hoosier Start, we have some tools online that will help you anticipate what your own healthcare expenses might be. It's also important, as Katrina mentioned, to think about the healthcare expenses that the person that you're providing care for might incur. And again, make sure that you have all of their information available so that you can help them address those costs. But again, these are informational pieces for you and the person that you're providing care for. And always, as you're thinking about your own retirement situation, we certainly want to make sure that you review your retirement plan, are on a savings path, even if that path might change a bit as you move into the caregiver role. And we want to review that on a regular basis to make sure that you stay on track. So I want to talk just briefly about Social Security benefits and when they are able to be collected. Full retirement age is the age at which you can expect to receive a full benefit, meaning it is not reduced. For most of us, that ranges between age 66 and 67. You'll see the birth years on the screen. Anyone born after 1960, full Social Security age is 67. What that means is that you can continue to earn as much as you'd like from a W-2 and collect your full benefit. However, if you find yourself in a caregiving role and needing to leave the workforce, you may be considering taking an early Social Security benefit. Early Social Security benefits are available as young as age 62. However, they are reduced, in most cases severely, if you're taking that at 62, and it is a permanent reduction. So I get a lot of calls each year and clients ask me, well, if I take a benefit at 62, does it go up when I reach full Social Security age? And it does not. So if you're taking an early benefit, it is a permanent reduction in the amount that you will receive from Social Security each month. So be mindful and make sure that you are considering your personal financial situation to determine when it might be best for you to take Social Security benefits. It's also important as a caregiver that you understand these numbers as well, depending on the age of the person that you are providing care for, to potentially help them determine when they might want to take Social Security. As a side note, there is an increase in your Social Security benefits if you wait until after full Social Security age or full retirement age to take that benefit. The maximum age for Social Security is age 70. So your benefit will never increase after 70. That's another thing to consider as a caregiver when you're thinking about your own personal finances. If you anticipate going back into the workforce after a break for caregiving, that's another consideration that you might want to think about when you're deciding when to take your own Social Security benefits. There are some additional benefits that you may be eligible for, or the person you're providing care for might be eligible for, and that could include a spousal benefit if you've been married and lost a spouse. You could receive a benefit from a divorced spouse. There is also potentially a survivor benefit available to either you or the person that you're providing care for. As it relates to Social Security, I encourage all of you, if you find yourself in a situation where you may be drawing on someone else's record, a divorced spouse or a deceased individual, please contact Social Security to get all of the information. I can share with you that I met with a client many years ago when I started this position, and she was advanced in age. She was still working at the age of 70 and was waiting to take her Social Security benefit. She was completely unaware of the fact that she could have taken Social Security benefits on her deceased spouse and found herself working longer than she may have had to because she was unaware of the option to do that. So if you find yourself in that situation, I encourage all of you not only to look at your own record for Social Security, you can register on the Social Security website and get your annual statement, but also if you find yourself in a situation where you might be eligible to receive a benefit on someone else's record, make sure that you talk to Social Security about your specific situation. At Hoosier Start, we are more than happy to work through your own financial situation as it relates to retirement. I would also comment that you can change your contribution to Hoosier Start anytime. That's a terrible misconception in the field. So if you find yourself in a situation where you are leaving the workforce for a short period of time, or you are reducing your hours, or it is an extended financial burden for you to continue to provide care, you can change your Hoosier Start contributions anytime throughout the calendar year. It may take a pay period or two for you to see that change, but you are welcome to change that online at any time. You'll have my contact information at the end, so if you have any questions about that, you can send me an email. I'm happy to meet virtually, or I'm happy to provide you the instructions on how to change your contributions online. I want to touch briefly on Medicare. Medicare in the U.S. is eligible for folks beginning at age 65. This is traditional Medicare, and there are 4 parts. Part A, which covers major medical and hospital insurance. Part B is what's referred to as more your traditional medical insurance to cover any copays, visits, etc. Part C is for vision, hearing, and dental, and Part D is prescription. Medicare is not my area of expertise. However, it is something to consider because I can share with you that as a retirement specialist, healthcare is the single biggest driver as to when folks are able to retire. So as you find yourself moving into a caregiver role, or you're providing care for someone who may not yet be 65, those are things to consider not only for you, but also for the person that you provide care for. We have a resource available. You will find that on the Benefiting You handbook on state personnel. I also have that resource saved. So if you are interested, there is a nonprofit organization called SHIP. It's an acronym, SHIP, and they provide Medicare counseling for folks who are anticipating registering for Medicare, have questions about Medicare, or have questions about the different supplement plans that you might need. They do not offer supplements nor sell product. They are only there to provide educational resources. So I encourage you, if you are in a situation where you yourself are anticipating registering for Medicare, or you have someone that you're giving care for that is considering Medicare, we can give you that resource for some additional education. There are some enrollment periods for Medicare. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen, medicare.gov will take you to more information. The initial enrollment is when you're turning 65. There is special enrollment if you are after age 65, but have been covered by an employer plan. So if you find yourself continuing in the workforce, either while you're caregiving, or if that caregiving role ends for any reason, but you are still in the workforce past 65 and have stayed on your employer plan, there are special enrollment periods. There are also some general enrollment for when you miss other deadlines, but know that there could be penalties, which is why it's very important that you make sure that you know your specific situation so that you can meet those deadlines appropriately and avoid any penalties. If you are in a situation where you feel that you have a unique case or a special situation, much like we talked about with Social Security, we've included the medicare.gov website, as I mentioned. I encourage you to use all of the resources available to you. INPRS is a wonderful resource. Hoosier Start is happy to provide as much information as we can. Social Security website, Medicare, the SHIP website that I mentioned as well. There are a number of resources available to you as employees, and I encourage all of you to take full advantage of those. So let's talk briefly just about what's next. We always talk about accessing your INPRS and Hoosier Start accounts. We encourage you to make sure that your addresses are up to date, not only through PeopleSoft, but with INPRS and Hoosier Start. Please make sure that you are updating and verifying your beneficiaries. If there's a change in your beneficiary, either because of your caregiving situation or because of a life event, please remember that there are 3 places in the state that you need to make sure that you have your beneficiaries updated: PeopleSoft, INPRS, and Hoosier Start. Although INPRS and I work together as a team to make sure that you are retirement ready, we do not talk to each other electronically. So if you have beneficiaries listed on your INPRS account, they will not automatically transfer to Hoosier Start and vice versa. I would also share with you that I get a lot of comments that people say, I have my beneficiaries listed on PeopleSoft. And unfortunately, those beneficiaries are only for your state benefits, life insurance, and other benefits that you might have. So please make sure that you are checking all 3 sources to make sure that your beneficiaries are what you want them to be and who you want them to be. We've included the QR code for both Hoosier Start and INPRS. So if you have questions, you're more than welcome to visit each website. Again, you'll have my contact you'll have my contact information at the end. We provide group sessions, much like we are doing today, on a number of different topics. Hoosier Start also provides webinars on a number of different topics. If you would like some more additional information or specific information on a topic, please visit the website for any additional dates or topics that you might be interested in. And as always, for those of you that know me, I'm always available along with my team to provide individual one-on-one retirement planning or counseling. We also have a personal retirement consultant by the name of Mark Gregoire, who is able to provide a much deeper and comprehensive analysis if you find yourself in a situation where you have a spouse or a spousal assets that we're considering, or again, if you find yourself moving into this caregiving role, as I myself am finding myself recently moving into the caregiving role. It's not been overnight, but gradually. If you find yourself in that situation and we can provide a more comprehensive analysis and how that might impact your long-term retirement plan for yourself, we're happy to do that. So what's next? We have 2 weeks left in our National Retirement Security Month initiative. On October 23rd, we will host a session called Maximizing Your Peak Earning Years and Making the Math Work for You Now and in Retirement. We'll build on the topics that we've talked about so far in October. The October 23rd session will be strictly virtual, so please visit the website to get registered for that. And then on October 30th, we are going to present both in-person and virtual in the INPRS building at One North Capitol. And we are titling that Planning Your Exit Strategy, making sure that you have steps in place if you are planning to leave your employer, whether that be for caregiving or whether that be for a true retirement. We'll talk about all of the things that you may need to consider on October 30th. So again, the website is on the screen. I encourage all of you to consider registering for one or both of the upcoming sessions. And as I promised, this is the contact information for both entities, Hoosier Start and INPRS. The websites are listed, and you'll see my email address there on the left. If you have any questions about what we've talked about today or other sessions from earlier in the month or as the month progresses, feel free to shoot me an email. Or if you would like to discuss your situation in more detail, we're more than happy to do that. So along with Katrina and INPRS, thank you all very much for your time and attention today. Appreciate the opportunity to present. And if you have any questions, we'll look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.